Boxing fans are split after Oleksandr Usyk decided to vacate the WBO belt and refused to fight Fabio Wardley, but rather Deontay Wilder. Some fans think Usyk is a disgrace and is doing boxing a disservice for not fighting Wardley. Others think Usyk has earned the right for all the things he's done in the sport to take a gimme fight. So where do you stand? I'm genuinely interested to know what you guys think about this. Are you siding with Usyk saying that he has the right or he's earned the right to take a gimme fight? Or are you siding with the side that is saying Usyk is a disgrace for not fighting Fabio Wardley? Get in the comment section and let me know. Now look, I love Oleksandr Usyk. I think Usyk is the greatest boxer of this generation. I think he's phenomenal. I think he's a machine. I think in my lifetime, I have never seen a fighter with that incredible amount of skills in the boxing ring. I haven't. Yes, Ali was never within my lifetime. And, a lot of fighters that came before when I was born were not fighters that I have seen in the ring. I have seen Usyk live and clear with my eyes. And I can attest to the fact that he's just an incredible fighter and I love him. And I would love to see Usyk fight one more time before he call it quits. However, I have to be honest. This channel is about boxing and boxing growing to become the global phenomenon that it was back in the 80s and 70s and so forth, right? We want to see boxing back and we want to see boxing thriving. And so I am always going to side with boxing. Although certain fighters I like and I love, and because of the fact that they are just consummate professionals and they do boxing a service, I like them. But I'm always siding with boxing, and I've always sided with fighters getting the opportunity to fight for the world title, because I feel like fighters put their lives on the line way too much to not get the chance to fight. Oleksandr Usyk deciding to fight Deontay Wilder rather than anybody else does make sense to Usyk and Usyk alone. It doesn't make sense for boxing. Now hear me out. Usyk wants to fight Deontay Wilder because Wilder is one of those champions in his era that he hasn't fought. It makes sense to him. Usyk wants to fight Deontay Wilder because Deontay Wilder would be a fighter on his resume where later down the line, when people talk about historic fights and fighters that have been, in boxing and have had historic moments, Usyk would look at Deontay Wilder as being part of his journey, because Deontay Wilder is one of those champions within his era that he would have on his record. So for Usyk, fighting Deontay Wilder makes all the sense in the world. However, it doesn't make much sense for boxing in terms of boxing growing and boxing developing. If Usyk decides not to fight Fabio Wardley, there are other fighters that Usyk can fight in order to advance the sport of boxing. And that fighter, number one on this list, is Agit Kabayel. Like, if Usyk goes, I don't want to fight Fabio Wardley because he doesn't bring a lot of numbers to the game and is, not a fight that I'm interested in because he's not big enough and so forth. Agit Kabayel is also in the same boat as Fabio Wardley. He doesn't bring a lot of numbers to the game. He doesn't sell a lot of tickets. But when has boxing become about selling tickets and doing all of this sort of stuff? This is all commercial stuff. And boxing is a business, I understand. But certain fighters have earned their right to have a title shot. Deontay Wilder has not earned any right to have a title shot. Basically, Oleksandr Usyk will be putting all his other belts on the line to fight Deontay Wilder. And Deontay Wilder has not deserved his opportunity more than Agit Kabayel, more than other fighters in the ring. Tyson Fury, for example, does not deserve the trilogy fight because he's had 2 opportunities to fight for the undisputed and he came up short in both fights. Anthony Joshua does not deserve a 3rd fight because he also had 2 opportunities to fight for the undisputed champion and he came up short. Agit Kabayel deserves his opportunity because he has not had the chance to fight for the heavyweight champion, and he has beaten really good fighters and has put himself in the position to fight for the world title. Deontay Wilder has not done anything to deserve a world title shot. And that is where I sit with this because, as I said, I love Usyk. I think he's great. And yes, he can go, I deserve the right to take a gimme fight whilst I wait for, maybe Fabio Wardley to fight a few more fights and become a much bigger fighter before I fight him. Usyk could say that. However, Usyk will then be holding up the division, whilst other fighters who deserve the opportunity will not get their shot. Now, Anthony Joshua gave Oleksandr Usyk the chance to fight for the belt. When Usyk came up and he was in the heavyweight division, and he, of course, he's a great fighter. Good fighters like Anthony Joshua will always want to test themselves against great fighters like Oleksandr Usyk. So I understand why Usyk got the opportunity from Anthony Joshua. Usyk then became undisputed champion and he defended his belts. And I feel like Usyk has to extend that courtesy to other fighters like Agit Kabayel so that they can also have the opportunity to test Usyk and to have the chance to become world champions. Because it is only right that that happens. And by the way, Agit Kabayel must have some of the most incompetent team in terms of promotional team or management team in the world of boxing, because how is Agit Kabayel not on social media shouting from the rooftop that he wants an opportunity at the world title? Like, Agit Kabayel should be making videos every single day about the fact that Usyk does not want to fight him, or he doesn't get the right opportunities to fight for the world title. Because us as boxing fans, if we see Agit Kabayel, who I think a lot of fans that I have spoken with would love Kabayel to get his opportunity, if we see him come out and rant and rave and protest that he does not get a shot, people like us will get behind him. Because when you look at the rankings, when you look at recent fighters, Kabayel, Joseph Parker and now Fabio Wardley are the ones that probably deserves a world title shot than anyone else. So fans will get behind Agit Kabayel if him and his team will come out and make noise and campaign to want to fight for the world title, but they have gone silent. And in all this, nobody is talking about why Kabayel should be the one fighting Oleksandr Usyk. If Usyk does not want to fight Fabio Wardley and Joseph Parker is out of the picture, what about Agit Kabayel? He deserves that shot. Why do Deontay Wilder deserves a shot over Kabayel when Deontay Wilder has not done anything in the last 5 years? If you look at the opponents that Agit Kabayel has fought and beaten, and if you look at the opponent that Joseph Parker has fought and beaten, they are night and day compared to the record that Deontay Wilder has had recently. So look, I understand where a lot of fans are coming from when they go, Usyk is doing boxing a disservice for not wanting to fight Agit Kabayel or Fabio Wardley, but rather Deontay Wilder. And I also understand from Usyk's perspective, from a legacy perspective, that he wants to fight Deontay Wilder because he is one of those champions in his era that he hasn't fought. I understand that, but I'm always siding with boxing because I want to see boxing grow, right? I want to see boxing become the #1 sport in the world because that is the sport that we love, that we follow, that we enjoy. And I want to see that happen in boxing. But for that to happen, we need fighters, champions, to be fighting opponents that are deserving of their title opportunities. That is the only way boxing will grow. The commercial fights, the fights that will make a lot of money, they're good fights, but they don't help boxing grow in terms of other fighters who are deserving of their chances to have those chances to then let other fighters come up. Boxing is all about opportunity. And the more opportunity other fighters have to fight for the title, the better it is for the sport and for others to fall in love with boxing, to want to become boxers. That is the only way the sport will grow. Picking and choosing, fighting this person and not that person does not help the sport in any way, shape or form. So look, get in the comment section and let me know. Where do you sit? Is Oleksandr Usyk a disgrace for refusing to fight Fabio Wardley, but rather Deontay Wilder? Or do you think Oleksandr Usyk has deserved his right, because of all the things he's done in boxing, to choose a gimme fight like Deontay Wilder? Let me know in the comment section below. My name is Bright. This is the Bright Show Podcast Boxing, where real conversations happen. Don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe, and leave your comments in the section below. I'll see you guys on the next one.